concept of what I'm doing. Okay. Yes. No, actually, Anna is Penelope. The voice actress for Many salutations, coins and viewers of the Vault alike. I am Tatsumari, and welcome to the End of Project livestream for Sly Cooper Rise of Vexen. Today, I am joined by a few of the very talented voice actors of the project, and we are going to be answering some of your questions if you have any. Also, if they have any questions for me or any of the other voice actors here, we'll answer them too. So, if you want to make sure and catch up on where you're going, go to my YouTube channel. You should be able to check out the playlist for Sly Cooper Rise of Vexen, and it is all there. Chapters 1 through 6, all the good stuff. I should be able to come out with the epilogue a little bit later this week due to some stuff on my end that I need to take care of. So, we shall see. But for now, we need to get on to doing this stuff. These are the people who do the famous voices of Rise of Vexen. To my, let's see, this would be right up here next to me, the voice of the villain himself, Darius Hunter, aka Clockwerk. Say hello to Megalodon 302. Yes, that's typically what voice actors end up doing. They have one voice, and then you see their face, and you're like, that came out of that? Next, and right below me, we have the voice of Sly Cooper himself, the one, the only, the legend. You want to introduce yourself? It's all good. Next, we have our companion, aka girlfriend, probably future wife of the tech head turtle we all know. And to my bottom right over here, Anna May. Hello. Oh yes, I forgot. You also did the voice of Nayla. I forgot about that. And then all the way on the bottom here, last but certainly not least, we have the counterpart to Megalodon, Mentu himself. Care to introduce yourself? Yes, it is. Oops, I forgot. I had to unmute a button over here on my side, so that probably didn't come through. Oh, well.
I don't think anybody heard us.
I am sorry about that. I am just off to a
we're
mega
here.
start over here. Okay.
First go. Let's go.
Okay, so quick introductions. Meg over here on my right, Anime right below him, Max right below me, and Zirian all the way on the bottom. We have Clockwerk, Darius Hunter, Penelope, Sly Cooper, and Mentu all the way in the bottom, respectively. So, now that I have made that major blunder, here we go.
Well, you talk about that happened. It was completely fine.
Oh, yeah.
It was planned.
First,
Yeah, this is all
very
content.
much planned.
This is all content. This is very entertaining content, just right off the get, you know.
Very scripted.
Yes, very scripted.
Definitely.
All right, so before we get started, do you guys have any thoughts on the project whatsoever? Just overall.
Well,
You go first.
No, you go first. You're the titular character here, so I think it's fair
Titular
that you go
character.
first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my initial thought is my patience paid off. Because when I first came into this, I knew very well that it's going to take a while, right? For me to be Sly Cooper again.
Yes.
And it took a bit, but you know what? It's fine. I'm perfectly fine with how it ended up. I'm perfectly fine with the wait. And I got some extra fun out of it with some extra characters. So
Yes, you did, and I thank you a ton for that.
Anytime.
Okay, Mega, did you have some thoughts?
Yeah, so this was quite like a roller coaster series of emotions and excitement and stuff. Like there was just so much interesting mystery that was just going on with like how was it all going to end? What crazy stuff was going to happen in this series? Who was going to show up? Who was going to come back from the depths of all the Sly Cooper lore? And of course, you have also original characters too. And it all came together just so surprisingly well. And of course, being able to play the character of Darius, it was a really fun one to do. Just playing this dude who initially everyone thought was just a really annoying agent character who just had a big stick up his ass most of the time. But then when, of course, everyone finds out what he really was, I think that's what really turned some heads around. And I was really excited to see how everyone was going to react to that part of the story. And I'm really glad that it all turned out so well. And it's like, if this was a video game, it would be really fucking great. Just how it would turn out and stuff. And so, yeah, I just had such a great time with it. And I just love how everything just really came together in the end. So,
Okay.
that's my take.
All right. Anna, Zirian, you have any thoughts?
My thoughts are more so a thank you for doing the work that Sucker Punch will not do. So you gave us technically the closest thing we'll ever get to Sly Cooper 5. So that's
Hopefully.
oh, and the TV series. So we got that going for us.
Yes.
Both things
Yeah.
rolled into one.
Mm.
And it was just really fun being brought onto this project. Funny enough, I didn't get to play Sly Cooper 3 as a kid, so the only reference I have of Penelope is from Sly Cooper 4. So I knew her as the villain. So to play her as this alternate version of her where she's, good, I didn't get to know her from 3. But I tried my best to do what I needed to do for this character, and it was just overall fun. I really enjoyed, getting to know you guys and seeing how the series turned out. I think it was a whole lot of fun. It was a hoot.
It was a
big old hoot nanny.
Big hoot.
Zirian, do you have any thoughts to share? I definitely know you enjoyed playing that last little bit as Mentu.
Oh, yeah. Anyone who's watching should really look forward to that. That's going to be very fun.
Yeah.
I had a good time recording that. I really like in the series all the sound effects and things. I think you build a really good sound stage.
All right.
And it's really easy to tell like what's going on in the scene, even if there isn't an explicit visual for it, which is really cool to listen to. And that comes up quite a bit. And then, of course, everybody did a great job recording what they needed to record and getting the right emotion and getting the scene correctly. So it's very cool to go back and listen to and hear all of those things.
All right.
Mhm.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, the sound design especially was really impressive. Just how
Yeah, it's a good
like,
point. It's not just like people talking.
Yeah, and even like you were not like seeing the characters on screen and all that. You could just like when you listen to it, you could just imagine like what's going on and just playing it out in your head and all that. And especially the last episode in particular, where it was a very action-heavy scene, and there were a lot of sound effects going on, especially with Clockwerk flying and all that. Like it's like that I could imagine. It's like, yep, he is flying, he is bombing shit, and all that. He is just like absolutely destroying this throne room and all that, and it's just like, oh, okay, like so, like everyone get the hell out of the way, it's raining fire. Like it really, like I really can imagine that even without seeing what like characters were being put on screen and stuff. It's like I can imagine in my head is like, okay, this is what's happening, and it's like a hellstorm essentially. That's what's going on. So yeah, definitely good sound design.
Yeah, actually, the very last part, I think it was in towards the end of chapter 6. I really was looking forward to that because I came across a sound effect that was of a jet engine starting, and if you listen to it, you can kind of hear the little tick 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 going. Okay, all of that is actually a jet engine starting with the igniters clicking off. But I managed to like drag out the sound effect, slow it down a little bit, and it actually sounds like a Gatling gun slamming on empty chambers as it's
Oh.
like spinning up. So
That's
and then
creative.
and then for like the final thing, I actually got a sound bite of a, believe it or not, the Gao 8 Avenger from the A10 Warthog in the military test firing.
Oh, yeah.
So just like imagine this gigantic Gatling cannon just on the top of his wing, just yeah,
Yeah, that's
just hammering
basically what
down. So yeah, it was, again, I had a blast doing the soundstage, and I try to imagine it's like, I try to see it in my head what's going on, and then I have to build the picture with sound.
Yes. Yeah.
So that way
That-
you get.
it definitely worked out in the end for sure.
Okay, so that was question 1 for everybody, I guess.
Yeah.
Second question. What was your most favorite scene and or chapter, and what was your least favorite scene and or chapter?
Oh. Okay.
Um,
I would. Well, I think this is my favorite would just have to be in chapter 6, the reunion between Sly and Vexen and stuff like that. And then this is a little bit cheating because it happens a little bit later and stuff, but also like following up with that when they're meeting up later on and stuff after Sly kind of lost his temperament and all that and stuff, where they just finally have that close moment with each other and all that. Like that for me was my favorite scene in the whole thing and stuff, because that was the moment that everyone was waiting for. That was the massive build up, and finally it happened. And even though it doesn't go exactly as I expected it to and stuff, the fact that it then like everything calms down and all that, and then just finally they like get together at last and stuff, because it's like, yes, this is the moment that we have been denied from the video games. It's just like, come on, just come on, let it happen. But in terms of least favorite, I can't really recall a scene that I would say was my least favorite, or even like least favorite to record either.
okay.
Yeah, like just for me personally, because nothing really comes to mind and all that. I think everything was probably well executed and stuff. I guess in terms of an emotional level, I guess I just always hated the fact that Darius was just such a dickhead in a lot of the scenes, which is very conflicting considering that I play the character. But like, just like, oh my god, it's just like I can understand the frustration these characters are feeling just with having him in the way all the time and stuff. It's just like, oh, it's just like, come on. So I guess that would technically count, but at the same time, I pretty much enjoyed every scene pretty much, so I never really had anything negative to say about it. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mega. And I definitely know you come from a much higher writing background than I do, so.
Yeah. As well as a big Sly Cooper fan too. So that's
Yes.
also the other thing. Yeah.
I guess all you guys at least are Sly Cooper fans, at least. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
The last of our kind.
You know, I
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay. So we're gonna go kind of like whatever this ways is. Next
Okay.
one. Anime. What is your favorite and or least favorite scene and or chapter?
Honestly, my answer is like the exact same as Mega's. And I think I'm surprised that you don't know, Tetsu, because I came to you when we were recording chapter 6. I was like, I'm gonna cry at the reunion, aren't I? Like whenever I hear it, because we waited so long. Just imagine waiting through all those games, all the teasing. Oh, you finally got it, but now he's missing. See ya. So this reunion meant a lot to me, and the finale was really exciting. It was a really good payoff, and that was a lot of fun to record. But as far as like a least favorite chapter or scene, the same thing as Mega. Like I can't sit here and be like, "Oh, that part sucked. I hated that. I'm never listening to that again." Like I can't complain about anything.
All right. Cool. Zirian, same question.
I guess one thing that comes to mind was like they were trying to fix the vehicle and like get it into like a electric run vehicle instead of like a gas run vehicle or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the exact details, but then it was like this big like rush, and then it was like, I need 5 minutes to finish the whole thing, and I was like, what?
Okay.
What could you get done in 5 minutes?
True. Okay.
A lot
A
of
little-
things, actually.
It kind of made me be like, is he really that good, or was it almost done? I'm not really sure.
All right. I can understand that. All right.
Yeah, that was definitely like a huh moment.
Okay. I may later down the line I may go back into the written story and kind of, pad things out, or not pad things out, but kind of help things along a little bit so they're not quite so cramped.
Yeah,
Um
maybe. I was really looking forward to hearing the final production of Mentu meeting Clockwerk for like the first time in the lab.
That was-
Like that was definitely when I was like going through the recordings and like everything was getting prepared, it was just kind of like, what is this gonna be like? How is this gonna happen? And then when I finally could see like the whole production done, it was like, that was pretty cool. There was equal
like that.
levels of terrifying and like impressiveness on both sides.
Yeah, especially the fact that when he's going like, "Have I become a god?" and stuff, it's just like almost like these are the things that he's always like wanted in his life, like come true and all that.
Yeah,
And even though it's not exactly as he pictured, he's still like fascinated by it and stuff. Just really shows that yeah, this dude had a fucking ego. Like he, for some, even back then, he had such a high opinion of himself and all that he figured like, oh, this is what I become. So it was
Guru
really
rejected
interesting.
him, and that's what started it all.
Yeah.
I swear that whole segment has like my most redos I think of any part. I was like, I really want this to be good.
I think I got like 4 versions of it that you sent me or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Max, same question.
Okay. So I have 2 favorite moments, and technically 3,
Okay.
right? Technically, because the third one is also the not so favorite moment.
Okay.
So first of all, my first favorite moment is it's for me. It's not so much about I'm gonna connect it less to the story because I didn't have enough time to really watch and listen to everything.
Right,
So I
right,
take
it's
most of my
fine.
information from the script. The first thing that came to mind is when I realized in the script there was going to be German characters, right? And I'm fluent in German. I grew up with German, and I was like, oh, this is my moment. This is what I'm here for. This is what I'm gonna do. So I took it to my mind that I have to nail these characters when I signed up for them, and I imagine I did.
Oh yes, you did.
And I remember it so fondly because I had such a blast reading the script and having to correct it.
Yeah, look, I will fully admit I am nowhere near fluent in any language. I mean, heck, even I'm like half Mexican, and even then I am not fluent in Spanish. So,
Yeah.
in any capacity. So, any help that I can get in correcting stuff that is wrong, I will fully admit I probably screwed up a lot of stuff too, especially with Ivan. Because the only thing I have to use and base off is like Google Translate. So,
Yeah,
Oh no.
So,
and I noticed.
yeah, I mean, but that's like the only thing I really have access to.
Of course,
And
and
it's better than nothing, but it's not great. So,
it would have totally worked either way. But when I saw it, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna correct it, make it seem real.
Mhm.
Give it that extra touch. And so I took it upon myself to just make it like phrase the sentence in a way that they would make sense in German. Anyway, so that's one of my favorite parts about this whole thing that I really enjoyed. The second favorite moment of mine, or favorite part in all of it, is just being the voice of Sly Cooper as a whole. that alone meant so much to me because I grew up with the games. I loved them I held them to such high standards in my mind, and I still do. They will always be one of my favorite games of all time. Which leads me to my technically third favorite part, but which is also on the lower end, right? Which is the very first scene where I voiced as Sly in that memory part, in that letter. I loved the scene, and it was my first time ever doing anything with voice acting, ever. And yeah, this is the first project I've ever participated in when it comes to voice acting. So when I recorded it, it was almost a bittersweet moment because I knew I'm not going to be voicing Sly for a while. And yeah.
Yeah, it definitely gave you a lot of time to practice, though. I imagine.
It did, but I didn't use that time to practice. You know, I focused on the other characters I signed up for to give them the best I could possibly give.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's my favorite, but also at the same time not so favorite because I really enjoyed being Sly. And I was so happy to be Sly again.
Yeah, it's like when I wrote this the first time, you guys do not believe how many times I have watched the entire Sly Cooper storyline through, from 1 to Thieves in Time. And I tried to find everything I could on the backstories of all the characters. I tried to find anything I could from the comics that I could use, which is actually where Winthorpe came from. Which is
that's where I rediscovered him and stuff, because I was going like, okay, I feel like I know this character from somewhere and all that, and then when I had looked it up, I was like, oh, that's where he got him from.
Yeah,
well,
and like I actually watched a couple of videos of some people doing theories on who he would be like in future games or something like that, or it'd be cool to include him in future games. And you only get like 2 or 3 panels of him in the comics, and then that's it. He just gets blown off by Carmelita. Just boom.
Yeah. It's just like, it just seems so strange.
I figured it would be interesting to kind of use that as his motivation to be like the one to try to win her over on the law side of things. Because, he had a major crush on her.
Yeah.
So I figured that would be his motivation to try and be better.
That would have been quite the love triangle if Sly was involved back earlier. It's like, oh, damn.
Actually, speaking of which, Sugarcane 1, a.k.a. Amber Garcia, she is the voice of Vexen Carmelita. She actually was disappointed that Vexen did not get together with Winthorpe at the end.
Really?
She was actually kind of hoping that they would get together instead, like be law enforcement together and go after Sly.
So many people would have hated that thing.
Look at Matt. So, yeah, there was
that's what's going to happen in the epilogue.
No.
Yeah, well, you guys already know, so you don't have to worry about that happening. The other thing that actually changed when I wrote the story the first time, there was a big change that I actually did, and that Kit was actually going to be the villain of Chapter 4, not Muggsy.
Really?
I would have loved to have seen that.
Yeah, and like the only thing I was thinking of, there was a character, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Arachnid from Transformers Prime that I was gonna like base her personality on. To be like just this ruthless showgirl kind of deal going on here. But I also remembered that from many, many years ago, a couple of friends of mine said that the life of a showgirl is in like a real life showgirl in Vegas is like no glamour whatsoever. It's very hard. No. It can be very, soul crushing. So I figured, okay, rather than make her the villain, why don't we make her a unfortunate, unwilling participant in it? And that's how Muggsy came around.
Ah, okay.
So there was that. As far as my own personal stuff, like my favorite scene to do was the scene where the temporal tunneler finally comes online, like in the end of chapter 5. Like everybody, they do all this stuff to try and keep it from firing up, and it still fires up. That was a pretty cool. That was my favorite scene to do of all together.
Right. Yeah, that was a pretty great scene. That when I remembered listening to it, it was just like, wow, how that all came together. It was just like, wow, like I didn't even know what to think of it at first. It was just like so.
The other one that was
perplexed by it.
another second one was when the whole little set of scenes together with Nayla. That was another fun one to have her pop back up. Because
the exposition drop she does
Yeah.
killed me.
With Darius being the ever so elusive Clockwerk.
Yeah, like that, and having to hide that for so long, like that was something I was talking about earlier and stuff. Is just like, oh, like this was the secret that I was keeping for a long time. It's just like, okay, I can't say anything to anyone and all that. It's just like you gotta mentally prepare for when the reveal happens and stuff. It's just like you got to be strong and stuff. So
Yeah, because I think you asked me about who Darius was in the whole grand scheme of things, and I was like, well, I can tell you, but it's going to be spoilers for the whole story, so...
Yeah, which I told you that's like, okay, I'm okay with that. I've had that happen before and stuff like that. And then you mentioned that he's Clockwerk, and I was going like, what? What?
All right. Cool. Any other, like, highlight scenes or chapters you guys come to mind as far as favorites or least favorites or just, get out of here?
Actually, from my part, there is something I remembered,
Okay.
where you asked me to do a potential live reading session to really nail that emotional scene, right?
Mhm.
To really get the feeling across. And in my head, I was like, oh no, I have so much to do. I have to go there. I have to do this. See, for reference, so everyone can understand why that's such a problem for me. I live on the other side of the planet. I live in Austria, so for me it's about to be midnight, right? And when I heard about that, I was like, okay, how am I gonna arrange this, right? I was stressing myself over it until I realized, you know what? I'm gonna do it simple. I'll record it, give it my best shot, and if I can make it to the live reading, I'll be there to do it again, no problem, right?
Mhm.
So I sent the lines, the whole package, everything. And then he told me, you know what? This is fine. We don't have to do a live reading. I was like, oh, no, I nailed it. So I was very happy in that moment.
All right. So I guess it's kind of like a side note. What did you guys think of the whole angle with Jake Windrow, aka Judy, at the in the middle of chapter 4 and the intro for chapter 5?
I'm trying to remember a bit about that chapter, so someone else can go ahead of me while I try to remember the character and all that.
Oh no,
I'm no help either.
Okay.
I literally finished. I finished that episode like a month ago too. I told you my mind is like an abyss.
I only asked
It's in
because
there somewhere, but I can't reach far enough to get it.
I only asked because we have the voice actors who did Judy in the chat right now. So
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
It's all good. Anyways,
You look like assholes now. Like Judy who?
anyways,
Oh no.
Judy, aka Jake Windrow, C is the character who's kind of like the archivist for every thief's life. Like Jake Windrow is like an organization for every thief that has ever existed, and they archive the history of their lives
Right.
from day one all the way through. And even if your bloodline doesn't necessarily have currently a thief, they will catalog your entire family. family history. So
It-
that's who
I
she
will
was.
say, okay, now it's starting to come back to me now a bit and stuff. I will say it was a very interesting concept because obviously there's been the Thievius Raccoonus, which is of course kept a track of all the Sly Cooper family.
Right.
But it is kind of interesting to see that there is someone that actually keeps track of every other thief family and stuff, because obviously you have the Paradox family, which was also a family of thieves as well. But like it's like, okay, so there's obviously other thief families out there, but who keeps a record of them if they don't have their own Thievius Raccoonus and stuff? So it's like, again, this is a very interesting concept that basically now you have someone that catalogs all this stuff. It's a very interesting idea. Kind of like a chronicler of like all things thieving. And all that. So it was a very really neat idea.
All right. So, and then I guess an aside to the aside, what about the twist that Vexen's family used to be thieves?
That was the biggest surprise to me as well, because that I had no clue of either and all that, like, just, but it kind of makes sense given that, like, yeah, she's a fox and stuff like that. Like, you kind of think that, yeah, it's a bit of an odd thing to have her as a law enforcement. That was always the thing with the Sly Cooper games and stuff, is that the fact that she is a fox and stuff, and usually the fox ones are known to be the very pun intended sly creatures and all that. But it's just like, now it's like, oh, that makes a lot more sense now if that's what it was going to be like and all that. And it's just like, it kind of makes sense. It's like, oh, why would she be kind of attracted to one if she didn't come from a long line herself and all that? So it was a really great idea, I think.
Okay. Anyone else?
I think it's a fine addition for the same reasons, really. It did surprise me more than the whole Darius's Clockwerk shtick. But I'm also biased because I knew from the get-go. No, it did surprise me immensely because in one part it makes sense, right? It's totally logical. On the other hand, it's not, because of how we knew the character.
Right. And like the thing that popped into my head is that as I'm looking up history on Carmelita, it only goes, I think, like, goes back to her, like, her great grandfather saying, like, one of her was the first one in law enforcement, either the first one or the one that started all being in family being in law enforcement. So I'm thinking, okay, if that was her great grandfather, what was her family lineage before that?
Yeah.
So-
It's definitely a nice touch and a very well received surprise, at least on my part.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
Any thoughts, Anna, Zirian?
I think that it does kind of, like, as the character that we know, it's surprising because she's just all about just going after Sly and, like, serving justice, and the dynamic works because they're so opposite. So for her to have, like, this crisis of, like, I was a Cooper the whole time, like, I was a thief all along, like, she just has a big freak out, and it adds something new to it, really.
Yeah.
It's not just like the classic, well, you've been this your entire life, so that's all there is to you. There's like
Yeah.
some family secrets that got unearthed to kind of be like, you know what, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, that's why I'm attracted to this. All right.
Okay. Zirian, any thoughts?
I don't think I've got anything else other than what's been said.
All right.
All right, that's fair enough.
All right. Oh, wow. We're breaking some records here. I got 7 viewers in the chat. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. I hope you're at least mildly entertained by what you see here, and for everybody here who's part of the thing.
Yeah.
As well as the macrame shark.
Yes.
All right. So, next question for you all. If you could change or add something to this story, what would it be?
That's a good question. Actually, it's like, Okay, so personally, I would have wanted, and I know this is kind of slightly covered in the epilogue a little bit. I would have kind of wanted to see a little bit more of what happened between Tank, as he's called, or Toot, or
Sly Common.
Sly Common and stuff, between her and uh, shit, what's her name? The Pharaoh's daughter.
Oh, Carmelatra?
Carmelatra, yeah. I kind of wanted to see a little bit more of what was going on there and all that, because obviously we know what becomes of them, even when the way that it happens has changed and stuff. I wouldn't have minded kind of just to see a little bit of their interactions together, just to see what would have unearthed because of it, even though the epilogue kind of explains like what happens. I would have been interested just to see like a bit of that interaction and just like what becomes of it, resulting in everything that happens a little bit later and stuff, because it was a very interesting idea, and I just think it's like, oh, I wanted to see a little bit more of where that what was up with that and stuff. Especially like he was like they were making eyes at each other, so it's like it's like, come on, I want to see where this goes. There was that, and then I guess, well, and this is a personal thing. I know, of course, obviously, Sly having been absent from a large majority of the series and stuff like that. I think it would have been interesting if maybe on occasion there could have been, so maybe some brief flashbacks that Carmelita had about Sly, of like all their interactions together over the past and stuff, and that's like something that she occasionally just thinks of, which would have been a great opportunity to have Truth here just come in to do the voicing and stuff, because I know he was very impatient about waiting for it and all that. I think many people were. I just think that would have been an interesting thing just to show that, like, even though yes, she was constantly thinking about him throughout most of the series, it also would have been just a good idea just to get into her mind of just like what things that she remembers from the time that she spent with him and all that, even if some of those times weren't exactly where they were both on the same side necessarily. So that's kind of like something that I personally would have wanted to see. But then again, I felt like everything that was done was really good for what it was. But yes, so those are just two things that I think personally would have been cool to have involved. But then again, it's like you're doing all you can when you're making this stuff. So obviously,
right. Okay. I may actually add some of that stuff later in the written story. I may not necessarily change the audiobook, but I may add the written story, add it to the written story.
Yeah.
So that way it's there. And then maybe somewhere down the road, I'll change up the audio stuff as I go through it and try to realign some of the videos, because there's some parts in there where some of the pictures, when they transition, they don't exactly transition well. So they're just like, one of them just goes, gone.
Yeah.
So I'll have to fix those along the way. For the rest of you guys, what would you change your ad to the series?
Oh, sorry, you go first.
Okay. I'll take the lead here. So, initially nothing came to mind because I didn't really think about it, right? But after you guys talked, it came to me. First of all, I agree with the whole flashback thing. I think it would be nice just to kind of give it a little bit of extra, you know? But it wouldn't have been necessary. What I would have liked to see personally is some scenes in between to kind of see what was Sly doing during this time? What was he up to, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we have no information in that time that they're looking for him at all of what he was doing. And I get it. It's not necessarily important because he ultimately isn't the main character of this story, right? He's the titular character, but not the main character.
Yeah.
So it would have been nice, but ultimately unnecessary. And I think maybe, even if it were a thing, maybe it wouldn't have worked. I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased because I like doing the voice.
Oh, yeah, because we all know we are all biased to the stuff that we do.
Yeah. But that's what I would have liked to see.
All right. Anna, what were you gonna say?
Basically, he stole what I was gonna say. So I should have gone first. I knew it.
All
Never
right.
let the man with the cane do it. But I guess he has the right of way. I do agree. Like there was like some interludes where it's like, meanwhile, Sly Cooper's building sandcastles and shit. I don't know. What is he doing? Like I would
Meanwhile, in
have.
this SpongeBob verse.
It's there's that, and along with the bias of like, oh well, I like being this character. It was very short-lived being Neela, but I wish that she came back at some point. I thought that she was, because she literally stops in, gives them a whole bunch of exposition and a flash drive, and then is like, all right, I'll be back, see ya. And so I'm like, all right, I'm sure you will. I wish there was more done with her, because she was kind of like threatening towards the end, like really menacing. Especially after all that she put the gang through in Sly Cooper 2. Like, you thought I was dead, but no.
Yeah.
Sorry, I gave you a bunch of trauma and a paralyzed turtle. So, anyways, here's some helpful stuff. And by the way, I will have Clockwerk's body again. I'm sure you will. See you later.
Like, believe it or not, I actually did want to do more with her. But for the life of me, I could not figure out how to make it work without making it overburdening.
Yeah, or overstuffed because
Or
it's
overstuffed,
like
yeah.
you have
Yeah,
so
you're
much
right.
going
Already
on.
stuff going on, especially in chapter 6.
Oh yeah, like chapter 6, you have a whole bunch of new stuff that's involved and all that. Like you got a freaking snake who's smarter than he seems, and it's just, and a big ass turtle who has the power of Murray and all that. And it's just like, holy shit! Like what else can you throw at me with this?
Yeah, so
so
I really did want to bring her back. I just couldn't find a spot to fit it.
That's fair.
mhm.
All right,
And
Zirian, what would you add or change?
One more buff turtle.
More
Like as I was
Oogway.
going through that part, and you're just listening along, it's like over there was a buff turtle. It's like this is such a great description.
That's what freaking Bentley wishes he was. If I'm not wrong, in Sly Cooper 3, wasn't that his freaking internet profile? Like that Specs guy, he had like the full muscles and stuff. And then you had Penelope, who had the model looking body. And stuff.
No,
Which-
give Bentley a Hulk bust suit and you're good.
Which
there you
actually, if
go.
you guys paid attention,
Perfect.
in chapter 5, there is actually the whole section where they're doing, where Bentley and Penelope are talking back and forth. There is a callback to Penelope's old picture that she used.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that part and stuff. It's like, yeah, because that was the one part that wasn't really touched upon in the third game and stuff, except for just like the one little drop, like line drop and stuff. But other than that, that part wasn't mentioned. That was one of the funniest parts in the game.
Okay. All right. Okay, so last of my questions.
Alright.
So, what was it like and how was your experience voicing the characters that you played? And I guess, Abs, you already I guess actually this question has already been added. What would you add or change about it?
Well, okay, so starting off with Darius, like I really enjoyed just doing that very evilish southern accent and stuff like that. Like it's one I've done for several different other projects and stuff, but it was really a fun one to just get into and stuff, because I just feel like that's kind of an FBI agent. I've seen a few who have sounded very much like that, and I just felt like it kind of fit for the character, and also fit because he's a Doberman and all that. And it's just like it kind of would have been interesting just to see how it sounds, and just the course goes like, "Well, Inspector Carmelita Fox, this is right." Like, so like it just fit perfectly and all that. It just really hides his sort of demeanor, but then of course when he gets really pissed off and all that. It's just like you see this very like just like a Doberman would be when he's angry and stuff. It's just like he's like a dog. He's just like really like had it up to here before finally losing it with some people. And just like showing that there is this very internal annoyance and anger that he constantly has, but he just does his best to like keep it under control. And I had a lot of fun like playing with that, as well as just playing as someone who just gets under your skin constantly and stuff, because that's what he was doing to all the characters, especially Carmelita, especially like they're just really pissing her off at every turn. So just being able to play that kind of character was fun. But then but the transition with Clockwerk, that was the most important one to do for me personally and stuff. The one I was looking forward to most, but also the one that I was nervous about most, because of course it's like, this is a legacy character. You have a lot riding on your shoulders. This is like technically the best villain in the Sly franchise and stuff. So it's just like, you really have to do it so well. Like, and so I did a lot of practice, like listening back to how Clockwerk sounds in the original first game, since that's the only time that he ever really spoke. So just listening to him and just having to just really get it right, like that very cold and calculated voice, because he doesn't really have any other emotion other than that voice, because that's just how he is and stuff. He has no emotion of any sorts except for rage and hate. Mm-hmm. So I was really glad that it was able to turn out so well. I guess maybe the one thing I would have done maybe a little bit better was when Darius's original form, when he was originally the doctor and all that, I would have kind of preferred to do a little bit of a different voice that kind of just sounded like a little bit different, because I realized it sounded a little bit sometimes close to Darius's original southern accent voice and stuff. So I just wish I could have done it a little bit differently, but other than that, I was really proud of how everything turned out for both sides of the character. So
all right, awesome. The rest of you, what would you add or change about your characters, and what was your experience playing them?
I'll take the lead again. Where to begin? Wow. So it's not that much. I make it sound like a lot. It's not that much. No. When I'll just think back to the time when I first auditioned for Sly, right? Mm-hmm. Because I used that link you had there of what you wanted for the voice, and I've listened to that a million times. I've tried to imitate it. I've tried to nail it, do this, all kinds of things, right? Mm-hmm. Until I was happy with it, and I sent a file, and here we are. But
the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history. But I felt a ton of pressure as I did it every single time, even after already nailing the role and everything. It's just, Sly is a big character. Mm-hmm. And even though nowadays not a lot of people may know him, to my surprise, like I've met millions of people that don't know the series, and I don't get why, but whatever, that's besides the point. It's still a big character to do. Mm-hmm. And I always, whenever I hear myself, I didn't initially think I could sound even remotely close to Sly Cooper. Mm-hmm. At all.
Like, you did a pretty good job, I'll admit, and stuff. Like, again, even when I tried out, because I did actually audition for Sly Cooper initially and stuff, and listening back, I was going like, no, I do not have a chance as this. I do not sound like him at all. I was so upset at myself. But then again, he has such a specific voice that's very difficult to try to manage and stuff. But I say you did a pretty solid job for like what you could do, especially for a first time and all that. Like, that's a very
Thank you.
Yeah, big round of applause for you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Chad, if we can get a bunch of claps for Max over here for his first try on Sly, that would be amazing.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, knowing which character I'm voicing, it was just a tremendous amount of pressure and tremendous stress I gave myself. But thinking back on it, I'm happy with what I did. I'm happy with what I managed to give everyone here. So I have nothing to change about it now. as for the others, right, that I did, one in particular that comes to mind is, I don't remember his name. Forgive me about that. It's been a while.
That's all right.
But he was the lion, the
Oh,
German
Leon
lion.
Rousseau.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember him because of my inspiration for him, of what I drew on to kind of channel this impatient German lion, right? So at first I was like, okay, I can do angry voices, I can do yelling. Yelling was a bit difficult because I have neighbors and I try not to wake them up because I usually record around 2 a.m. I'm sorry,
right.
neighbors. But I tried to make it work, and my initial inspiration is hilarious, right? When I thought of the character and what I want to do with him, I first thought naturally I thought of the medic from Team Fortress 2, because
Nice.
that's the character I choose for my German accent. Believe it or not, I might be bilingual, but doing a German accent isn't always that easy for me.
Hey, it's not easy
So-
for me either, so I can totally agree with you.
So when I got ready to record like a million times, I've repeated, "Let's practice medicine," over and over and over until I can get it right. But
Jawohl.
then I got to the voice that I wanted to do, and my voice inspiration was Starscream.
Ah,
Oh.
yes.
You know, that raspiness, that always kind of yelling but not yelling kind of tone, you know? With
There's
he
something
chain
that's
smoked for
way
a
up
million years.
here where you're trying to be very, very menacing, but you sound like you're choking on a piece of gum.
Yeah, exactly. So I combined that with the German accent and just lowered it a little bit. And yeah, that was my inspiration. Although I'm not entirely sure if that's originally what I wanted to do or if that's how I wanted it to turn out. I might have done it differently a second time,
Mm-hmm.
probably. But I think it's fine the way it is.
I think I can
Ultimately.
speak for everyone here that I enjoyed your performance as Leon Rousseau.
I did too.
Thank you. So yeah, that's the main thing that sprung to mind here.
Okay. I'm going to change things up a little bit. Zirian, with your Mentu character, is there anything you would change or add?
No, I really liked every minute of it.
All right.
So I remember when you were like reached out to me and you're like, "Hey, I got this like character I think you could do. It's the villain, one of the villains of this story, and you want to give it a try?" Okay, sure. I don't know. I haven't gotten to do that yet, and just found that it was super fun. And I was just like, who do I want to be for this character? And understanding myself, I was like, oh, I'll just be myself, and it'll be perfect.
All right.
And
All right.
so, yeah.
All right. I'll
it was
definitely keep
great.
that in mind for future characters along the way.
Oh, yeah. I didn't have to really change too much. I was just like, I'm just going to read this as myself, but like a little bit more like showmanshipy and try and go a little bit like creepier and weirder than normal. And I just had so much fun. I want to do more and more and more.
All right. Cool. Okay, so for this round, anyways, for this last question, Anna, you play both Nayla and Penelope, both legacy characters. What was your experience, and what would you change and or add about either one of these characters?
It was a lot of pressure because, like you said, they're legacy characters.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I auditioned for Penelope, because I was gonna audition for a kid, but I had to sing, so I was like, well, that's out of the way. So I just auditioned for Penelope, and I listened to the reference link that you provided over and over again, but still, I held off auditioning because I was so nervous because Annette, I always butcher her last name, but Annette, Penelope's voice actress, has a distinct voice, and I was sweating it the whole time. I went as far to go to my boyfriend. He's like a massive Sly Cooper fan, And I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, this is like so distinct. Like, how am I gonna pull this off? It's like, it's fine. Let me hear it, and I'll tell you. And I was like, no. And I still won't do my Penelope in front of him because he wants to hear it so bad, but I refuse. I love the character. I love playing her, and I love to get to be this different version of her. And anytime before I would record, you can kind of hear it in the episodes that I am constantly trying to replicate her voice better. And it's just so weird because it's like a little bit nasally, a little bit raspy, but then there's moments where she's like in the original, her voice is normal sounding.
Right.
So it's just hard to find that balance. And if I could change anything about that, it would just be if I didn't focus on the pressure of the voice so much, then maybe I would have just like been more relaxed and like just done a bit better. But I think for what I did, it was pretty okay. But with Nayla, on the other hand, for Nayla, it was the only challenge was if I get to do a British accent, I'm all in. Anytime I get to make fun of or do a British accent, I'm having fun. So to get to be this backstabbing villain to come back, that was fun. But it was the pitch, and you had to slightly pitch my voice down a little bit. But I was happy with like her mannerisms and that I was able to do that. So there's not a whole lot I could change about that, except for I wish my voice was slightly deeper. Sometimes.
I've done a lot of characters and stuff like that. Mega, you may know about this. Some of the characters that I've done, I've actually pitched down for other voice actors or other projects that I have done. I think as much as like 10%. So, as long as I can keep it within like a certain range, it isn't quite so obvious if I have to pitch it down or up or anything like that. But again, I was like, as soon as you were able to pull off the accent, I was like, yes, 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 yes.
Oh yeah, British accents are my specialty. Even then, like in post, I couldn't really tell a whole lot of difference. So there's that.
And
not a whole lot I could change about either voices, really.
Okay.
It's just I wish I did Penelope a bit better, but you know.
Well, again,
it is what it is.
At this point, we're at a spot where it's basically a community project. So anybody who is at least willing to try, I am willing to at least give them a shot. Again, Max over here, you, Zirian, Mega over there, you guys all tried for the characters you had, and I think it came out amazing. I mean, I had to make little tweaks here and there, but, that was, like, inconsequential to the final product. It was just amazing, bomb stuff that once it all came together, just made this amazing project that I would be nowhere near able to replicate by myself.
Yeah.
Nice.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it.
Got me choking up, bud.
So I hate to say it, but this is actually where I have to dip now because I have things to do and
All
stuff.
right.
So, but it was a pleasure to talk with you guys and also talk to chat and answer certain questions and stuff.
All right, Mega, thank you for coming. Before you leave, do you have anything you would like to plug?
If you guys are kind of interested in knowing, seeing more of my voicing stuff, or even seeing my own content, I do have a channel of my own. It's called Mega Productions 302. You can find it anywhere on YouTube, or just search up Megalodon 302, my name, and then it should pop up in some of the places that I've been. So,
All right.
So that's my plug. So everyone have a nice evening or nice morning, depending on where you are. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day.
And for the rest of you guys are looking, I will have his link in the description of this live once it all comes together and I'm able to edit it. So thank you, Mega, for coming, and good night.
Nice meeting you.
See you later.
All right, and then there were 4, and the 5 that are in chat over here. So, of you guys here that are remaining, do you guys have any questions? And the same for you in chat. Do you guys have any questions for me or any of the other voice actors that you want answered. I do have a couple questions from one of the viewers on the channel. If you guys need time to think, you are more than welcome to, or unless you have something right off the top of your head that you would like to ask.
Not me. I'm thinking.
Okay.
I kind of have one. I guess
Okay.
it can relate to all y'all. What was like your favorite line to say? Like, what was like the most like fun to just say, or just made you laugh, or just be like, "Oh shit" kind of moment?
I have to look through them real quick.
Okay.
I have one. I have one already. So you look, I have one. I think my favorite line was from the very first one in that like letter scene, that flashback memory scene at the beginning, is when Sly proposed. Because I mean, it's not that it wasn't a surprising moment, but it was more of a this moment is important. Very important. Let me put extra emphasis on it. So I
Yeah.
tried to make it sound natural without sounding too natural, if you know what I mean.
Right. Going the other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it came out amazing. And that was one of the things that I kind of thought might have happened from the time between Sly 3 and Sly 4. That might have been a thing that happened. Because as far as my memory goes, and my interpretation of things, it seemed like Sly from the end of Sly 3, Sly really wanted to pursue a relationship with Carmelita. That's why he faked his amnesia.
Yeah.
Okay, so we actually got a question from Amihan Lumaban, who is the voice of Carmelatra, by the way. General question for everybody. Are there any eras you wanted to put into the story or hoped would appear?
Actually, I would have liked to see a bit of, well, how would I describe this? Just for a short moment, right? That they say they travel through time, do their whole time travel stuff, but they for some reason end up on the other side of things in the future, right? And see the consequences of things that could potentially happen if they don't change them and fix them for a regular timeline.
Okay.
Like that would have been very interesting for me to see. We've never really seen anything futuristic in that sense. We've only ever seen stuff in the past.
Okay. That
That's actually like a really good answer, honestly.
all right. Cool.
I guess it's because 2013 Anna had a very favorite ancestor named Tennessee Cooper. So if he could make a comeback, and if they somehow went back to the Wild West, I would have been very happy.
All right. That this is all giving me some ideas for a sequel sometime down the road. We'll see.
Ooh.
Because the stuff that I have seen, a lot of people, they just all over the internet really didn't like the time travel element of Thieves in Time. At least my interpretation of what they've said. And not only that, but now that you introduce time travel into this thing, it's very hard to bring it back down. Because how do you top time travel without time travel?
Alternate dimensions.
Yeah, which is another thing that I have kind of opened up the door for with Penelope.
That's me.
Which that's another thing that I saw a lot of comments all over the place. I mean, we'll get more to your question, Amihan, back in a second, but the alternate dimension thing is. I saw a lot of people also didn't like the direction that Penelope went from 3 to 4 because it was like a complete flip of personality for her. So I figured if it's that drastic of a change, what if it's not the same Penelope?
That could be interesting.
So that's how we ended up with the Penelope that ended up in the story, where she is the Penelope that's in the story is the one from Sly 3. The one from Sly 4 is from an alternate universe version, which I think is explained in the story, where she comes from a place where she and Bentley split off from the group and kind of sort of went off the rails a little bit on their own devious plots. So I figured if we could use that, it would explain the personality shift being so drastic and give an opportunity to reset Penelope back to what she was.
Yeah, that would make
Honestly,
sense.
yeah, I'm fine with that because whenever I first played Thieves in Time, I didn't play the third game. So whenever she jumps out of the Black Knight and Bentley's like, "Oh no." I'm like, "Oh my god. Who is that?" Like the girl that you've been looking for the whole game, like so I didn't know that she was a totally different character before. Because I didn't know she was a character at all. I thought that, I don't know, she was just kind of like something that was added somewhere. I just didn't know her. So to get the chance to technically meet her for the first time through the character, and in this way, I'm fine with. Like, if it's a whole alternate dimension kind of thing, then it works for me. And I hope that it works for everybody else. Because,
Okay.
like you said, people seem to not have liked the drastic change between the games.
Right. And there's other people that have offered theories of why there was such a drastic change. But to me personally, how I understood it and how I have translated it is this Penelope was liked, this Penelope wasn't. So let's kind of mix it up and do some wibbly wobbly timey wimey things.
Nice.
Zirian, were you able to find what your favorite lines were?
Yeah, I've only been in, one chapter here, but I did find a few from this chapter that I really enjoyed doing. Specifically scene 1 where he's like saying, from the far west. And I was trying to put myself in this position of like, I want him to sound like really creepy. Like he's saying something, but he's thinking something completely different. But he doesn't want you to know what he's actually thinking, like to get inside your head. And I had so much fun with that recording. I really tried to like feel that one, and it was really fun to like do that.
Yeah, because
there are a few others too.
I kind of
but go
imagine
ahead.
like that happening is at that point, at least in real world history, Egypt was kind of blocked in by a giant desert, and you really couldn't cross it very quickly. It would take you weeks, maybe months to get across it. And it could, if you're not readily prepared for it, it could be very deadly for you. So by saying you're from way out there, beyond the desert, beyond the ocean, oh my, what's that way? Okay, and then, so we got Max, we got Anna, and then the question from Amihan, were there any eras that you would have hoped popped up in the story?
No, to me, I think it was very focused in how the story was created and pushed through,
Okay.
and told. And I think that it covered what it needed to cover. And I don't think I would change anything there.
All right.
I
Cool.
did have another favorite line that I came across too,
Ooh.
to go back to that question. For scene 12, when he like jumps on top of Cooper, like holds him down, and he's like talking to him like, "Oh, hello," I really wanted.
The scene where he and Sly Cooper first meet in Carmichael's room.
Yeah, exact that one. And he's like, I just tried to picture like pinning him down, and their faces are like 2 inches from one another, and he's like hunched over him with all his weight pressing him into the ground. He's just like, "Hello there," like as menacingly as he could.
Like I'm out. Like after I heard you do the takes, I'm kind of almost imagining like what would Obi-Wan look like as Darth Vader.
That is what came to mind, to be honest.
Yeah, right. That's
So, but yeah, it
I
came
see
out
it.
amazing. It came out amazing, dude.
yeah.
I would not have done it any other way. Me personally, to answer Amihan's question, maybe sometime in the future, I might actually try to do a side story kind of deal that goes back to feudal Japan and kind of explores the thing that I brought up between Ryoichi and Vexen's ancestor, Shizuka Kitsune, who
Well, that
was
could be interesting.
where I actually got the character name just inspired from it, because if you go to Thieves in Time, there is like a neon billboard on Madame Geisha's Geisha house or whatever. On the side, there is a kind of, for lack of better words, a billboard for a fox on the side. And I have seen a couple theories that says that is also one of Carmelita's ancient ancestors.
Will be interesting to explore.
So I kind of thought, and the way I did it in the story is saying that Ryoichi and Shizuka were, they tried to get together, but then a daimyo came along and says, "Oh, you're pretty, you're my wife now." But they kept in touch with each other secretly so they could, keep heisting stuff here and there. So that'd be kind of an interesting thing I think would like to maybe explore sometime down the road.
I'd be all for it. I'd love to see that.
Just writing notes for yourself.
Yeah, I'm over here.
Wait, hold on. That's actually like you're typing furiously now.
Yeah. All right. So we do have a couple questions from comments that were left on some of the videos from Randonpanda. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to show up for the stream. So, Random, these questions are for you, so you can watch it later if you so desire. I will have a link in the description for you if you want to skip to your questions. Just right there. Her first question is, how was it that it was able to make the accents for Ivan and everybody else as well? Okay, well, from my part, the easy answer is just lots and lots of practice. That's Ivan's accent is one of the ones that I've always kind of had in my back pocket. It's Russian and Ukrainian is kind of a very similar accent. I did run into a couple people who went to my church a couple years ago who were from Ukraine, and it was, save for maybe some pronunciations, the accent was very similar. So all I had to do was just basically replicate that, and voila. There we have Ivan. I guess answer for you guys, maybe not for any particular character, but I guess in general, how do you guys come up with your accents? And I know you came up with you put the explanation for Leon Rousseau on how you came up with that whole thing.
That was already covered more or less.
Yeah.
And as for Sly, well, I mean, I just listened to the character and replicated the character in its entirety as much as I could.
Okay.
Because I know my English accent is not an accent per se; it's just English to me. I don't know what my English sounds like in particular, so I just tried to replicate what I heard, and the German accents are just German accents. I speak German, so that's a natural thing for me to do.
Right. Anna or Zirian, do you have a method to your madness, so to speak, on how you come up with accents and whatnot, or how you do accents?
I look at the name, I look at the description, and I just start speaking in a particular way. I don't really have any other. It's just like, I think this guy's gonna sound like this, and then I'll just start going.
Yep. All right. Anna, just to answer this question over here.
For Penelope, it was just a matter of replicating the original actress and just sounding dorky. So I'm very fluent in sounding like a geek, so that was easy. But with Neela, that's always my go-to. If I want to sound silly or something, I'll just do a British accent. I'll just go with it. So there's nothing to. I just grew up with a bunch of like British comedy stuff, so it just came naturally, I suppose. So with other accents, though, in any other project, it just depends on like the practice.
Okay.
So yeah, not much to say. Just I do the funny voice. That's me.
And I guess the last little bit, for me anyways, if there's any particular accent that I am not familiar with, I will usually look up a how to do XYZ accent on like YouTube or something like that. And there's a couple of them there that are they're actually voice coaches that actually have just free videos on there. They'll give you like 2 or 3 points on how to do stuff, how its pronunciations is done. And then after that, I'll just look up, sometimes see if there are other characters that have the accents that I'm looking for, and just kind of study how they did it.
Yeah, YouTube is a blessing when it's like, can you do this accent? Sure. Let me just go on YouTube real quick and.
Yeah, I come from YTU.
I had to deal with a Hungarian accent, and I was like, I have no idea how to do that. So I was like, YouTube. Help. It's like,
help.
Left.
All right. So one final question here. It's very specific on a video. I think it was based on chapter 4. It was a question related to chapter 4. The sound effect used for when Clockwerk took over Darius Hunter. Random, there isn't necessarily a particular name for that sound effect. It was just an amalgamation of different sound effects and just trying to make it sure it sounded like a machine was powering on, and then just doing something that sounded like a beam was hitting Darius Hunter as a doctor. That's pretty much all it was. Just a bunch of sound effects I had together and just bwah!
Just like a Frankenstein monster for the audio.
Yeah, that's pretty much all it was. It was a lot of, I think yours might have been like 5 or 6 sounds I used all for it together, including, but not limited to, dubstep bass drops.
Everybody's favorite.
Yes.
Always rely on those.
All right. That is all the questions I had gathered. Any last minute questions from anyone in the chat? And from any single one of you guys? Do you have any last minute questions you'd like to ask?
Only if the sequel is actually going to be a thing.
I do want to do a sequel eventually, but at the same time, I'm not exactly sure how I would go about it, because the first thing that's coming to mind, and there's other events and stuff, like especially talking with you guys here, that would be interesting to do. I was trying to phase out the time travel aspect of it, since a lot of people didn't seem to like that, and maybe just try to bring it back down to earth. But at the same time, the only other thing that I could do, I think I put this poll up on my community post, or community section on my YouTube channel, that would be like a next generation story, which would be Sly and Carmelita's kid, who would be maybe like an adopted kid. Because especially since Sly was an orphan, maybe he kind of sees the appeal of having someone there for him to kind of help pick up the pieces. But would be their kid, and would be, again, like the only thing that's coming to mind is kind of a modern retelling / tweaking of the first game, where their kid would fill the role of Sly in the first game, but then also have Kit and Penelope be that kid's quote unquote muscle and tech, or muscle and smarts. That's a good idea. To continue on that way, and have maybe Sly and Carmelita be a retired thieves, or like mentor figures for that. But
does that mean I get to do the Grandpa Sly voice?
No, I don't think he would be too much. Would sound too much different, especially since in the third game and the fourth game, at least, he sounded the same. And by that time, I think he, like, if time works the same way, he was probably like his early to mid 30s by the time that game came out. So his voice is pretty much locked into what it's going to sound like. So it probably
Well,
wouldn't.
that's advantageous.
Probably by the time he gets that old or older, it probably wouldn't sound much different. Maybe a little more raspy, but not much different than it already is. But yeah, that's kind of all the ideas I have at the moment for a sequel. But it is not completely concrete as whether or not it's happening yet.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay. That's pretty much all I had in mind to do. So if there are no other questions, I think we can safely say that this was a good meeting. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it worked out well. I think it was good that we all came together, talked about everything. It was nice. It was very touching. Almost cried a little bit.
Alrighty. So starting with Max over here on my right, do you have anything you'd like to plug before we leave?
Only the fact that I stream on Twitch. So if any of you would like to see me do stupid stuff on Twitch as I play my video games, yeah, that's not going to be much voice acting on there, I'm afraid. I just play video games for fun. But yeah, you'll find me on there under Foxy Von Bytes. You're probably going to need a link to that, which you'll most likely find in the description below.
Yes, you will.
Thank you for that. Other than that, if I have any future projects going where my voice can be heard, I do have a Discord server running, which can also be found on my Twitch channel. And I'd like to thank you for the opportunity of being in this project. Yeah.
You are very
That's
welcome. All right. Zirian, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
We'll see if this works here. Sure, why not? Hopefully that changed my profile pic or the little picture to something else.
It actually has a stream going. Is this what you were asking for?
I mean, it's not a stream, it's just my YouTube page that I started not too long ago.
I have to manually open it up, so.
I do go by a different name on here. I changed that a while ago, and I just never changed it in our group because I was like, it's gonna probably be a lot of work to change the username to something else. So I'll just not say anything.
All right.
But yeah, I did change it to this, and I've actually changed my whole like Discord handle and everything to this hex head and pretty much everything over the course of like the last couple months. So that's what I'm doing. I like this name. I'm sticking with this. I just do funny or end game content for some games that I'm playing. So just getting started with that. That's really it.
All right, cool. Anna, did you have anything that you wanted to plug?
I guess just my YouTube, which is just Space Robot. I do reviews and other nonsense, but the catch is it's once or twice a year, whenever I feel like it. There is a playlist of all of my voice work, and if anybody's interested, and it's not really a plug, but it's more of a shout out to my boyfriend who's been watching, I'm assuming this whole time. I don't know, but he was in the stream, and I hope that he enjoyed the stream and the project as much as I have actually being a part of it. It was a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see the future.
Alrighty, so Zirian, Anna, if you send me those links a little bit later, or like DM them to me, I will definitely put them in the description of this video, so that way everyone, Coins of the Vault and viewers alike, have access to your beautiful voices and your beautiful content.
Hell yeah.
So, on beyond that, I think that's where we're going to hang it up. Be sure and subscribe to become a Coin in the Vault so you don't miss a thing. As of right now, I am currently working on the epilogue of Sly Cooper Rise of Vexen. It should be coming out later this week, maybe by next weekend at the latest. So keep on the lookout for that. If you're looking for more stuff, you can also check out Maple Story the Novel's Sacred Tears, which is also going to be coming out probably by the end of this month, beginning of February, which we'll be picking back up with Chapter 14. This is an alternate universe look at the story of Maple Story. So, and it is fully voice acted. It has music, it has sound effects, all the cool stuff. I guess you could also call it a audio graphic novel. There is stuff on screen that you can watch. So you're not just sitting there bored out of your mind, just listening to my dulcet tones putting you to sleep. Also, it is geared as an audiobook, so that way you can just turn it on and leave it on in the background and just enjoy it. The same thing with Rise of Vexen. However, it is more so geared as an audiobook, so that way you can just turn it on and leave it on in the background and doing whatever it is you're doing, which is what we were talking about here today. It is fully voice acted, has sound effects, has music, all that good stuff. Be sure, and if you, whatever series you watch, give it a thumbs up, give it a comment, share it around so that we can defeat our algorithm overlords at YouTube. But as far as next week, I'll see what I can come up with for content on next week's stream. We shall see. I have no idea what I'm going to do, but probably get on Satisfactory and maybe give you a tour around some of the stuff that I've been tweaking and changing and doing different stuff. Other than that, thank you all for coming. I hope you had at least a mildly entertaining time, and we shall see what happens in the future. So until next time, my friends.